Welcome to the session, The Best Apps for Agriculture. This presentation and additional links to agriculture apps can be found at agtoday.us/ag-apps. Hi, my name is John Blue, and I'm with Truffle Media Networks, an agricultural media company focused on agricultural animal health issues. Thanks to the Indiana Farm Bureau Young Farmer Leadership Conference team for the opportunity to provide you information you can use. The goals for this session are to learn where to find apps, learn about ratings and reviews of apps, and to discover some apps used by others. What are the apps on your phone that you use the most? This is an example of the apps on my iPhone and iPad. Some of them I still use, some have fallen out of use due to not solving a need, or some are no longer supported. So what is an app? What problems are you trying to solve with an app? Apps ideally are trying to help you make decisions, save time or be more productive, make or save money, or be entertained. Here's some perspective on the apps available. The iOS App Store, that's for Apple, has reached 1.2 million applications. The Android Google Play Store now has reached 1.4 million applications. There's a lot of overlap, but that's still a lot of apps to wade through and to discover what you need. There are two main places, as I mentioned, to get apps for your smartphone. This is the Google Play Store for Android devices, and this is the Apple iTunes App Store for iPads and iPhones. There is also the Windows Phone App Store for those who have Windows phones. Here's an example app listing. They usually have info on what it is, screenshots of the app, and when it was published. Additionally, stores usually share info on what apps are similar to it based on what other people have downloaded at the time. This is an Apple Apps Store view of the same app that was in the Google Play Store, in this case the Mix Tank, the agricultural tank mixing order and spray logs. It too has a description, screenshots, and other info. As I mentioned, the stores usually share related apps on the idea that you might like these because they're similar to what you're already looking at. FYI, some of these bits of information can help you decide to use or not to use an app. Missing ratings or costs associated with a free app might sway you. Just as a side note, it's now required that both stores list if there are in-app purchases. So an app might be listed as free, but when you use it, in order to get some additional functionality, you may have to pay what's called an in-app purchase. And both stores are supposed to provide those listings. Also, the date of an app when it was last updated is good to know. If an app hasn't been updated in over 2 years, then the app may no longer be supported, and/or the app might not work on newer smartphone operating systems. Or it won't have the functionality you expect on the new phones due to the OS. In this case, this app was published in June of 2014, which is not too far in the past, and so it's probably still good. Sometimes there's additional information on the number of installations and the in-app purchase costs that can help you. Also, the version of the operating system can be helpful. In this case, it shows that the installs were between 10 and 50,000. Most agricultural apps are not going to be in large numbers, so they're going to probably be in well under 1 million for most of the ag apps. If it has 0 installs, that would be something to be concerned about. So what makes a best app? What is the definition of best? Well, here are some thoughts around that. Best is really an opinion. Using the customer ratings, here's a definition of best. It's really, somebody helping make a decision on this app was useful to them or not. Most apps will have ratings associated with them. In this case, for this example, there wasn't enough ratings to really give a good average of the current version, but it did get 17 ratings, and you can look at the details behind those. Make a note that having no rating doesn't mean that the app is bad. That just means not enough people have given feedback to the app. Here's another version of best. Reviews with notes from people can be another indicator to help you decide to use the app. In the Android store, this particular one, this is the Mixed Tank Calculator, was given a review by Steve here, and he thought it was easier to use than other calcs that he tried. You might know Steve and then be swayed to say, hey, if he liked it, then I'll like it. Some apps can be considered best because they're related to apps similar to the one shown. If you like another app and you thought it was really good, then if this one's similar to that one, you might think that one is also a good one to get. Additionally, there are related apps by the same developer. The Mix Tank app by Precision Laboratories they also made 2 other apps. And if you've used those and you thought those were good apps, you might also think the Mix Tank app is a good app. So there's some relationship between other apps that the app publisher has created. Media reviews of apps can help. Here's an example from Crop Life. Crop Life has been doing a series of apps for several years. I would say these are less reviews and more of an FYI that these apps exist. In their post, there's nothing to say that the app has actually been used or tested by the writer, but it does provide some information on what the app is about and where it is and what its state is. The Ag Web App Finder has some items that might be of value. This is a listing of about 70 ag apps with some links. The review stars are provided by the media editors, so again, actual use or testing is unknown. AppSilo is working to help bring some new info to apps that are available for agriculture. AppSilo aims to provide information on bundles of apps to solve specific needs. Again, these are not formal reviews, but more of an app FYI. Just a side note, as I mentioned, AppSilo is trying to bundle. So this is an example of one of their links that says Farm Business Management Apps. So this one page has about probably like 10 or 11 other apps that are listed on the page below this. And they're all related in some fashion to farm business management. Not all of them have to be used together, but they might be useful for you to run your operation. Another route to finding apps, ask people you know. This is Jeff Val, a rancher in California, and he's sharing his app recommendation list. He's using Farm Scout, Mix Tank, Angus Mobile, Nozzle Calc, and Net Irrigate. Side note, an example, Net Irrigate. Net Irrigate actually allows you to control irrigation equipment remotely. Now the app may be free, but in order to use Net Irrigate, you have to have a service subscription and the equipment that's designed to run with that app. So the app may be free, but the equipment is not. And then you also have to do some configuration and setup. The Angus Mobile app actually is a trade association, animal breeding, and livestock history app plus news. Here's another recommendation by Lynn Sosonowski. She's a UC Davis weed scientist working on annual and perennial crops. And she has some apps that she recommends: the Mix Tank, Calibrate My Sprayer, Spray Select, Ground Spray, the Trimble Connect, and Farm Scout. Notice the one in the middle there with a big N that says it's Nebraska. That's the Ground Spray app by the Nebraska Cooperative Extension Group. So the logo doesn't help you tell what it is, but if you dig in, you'll actually understand that it's a cooperative extension app that they're using to support agriculture in a variety of ways through tools. Several extension groups have put together apps that solve maybe state or regional issues like insect, pests, weed, or sprayer setups. Chris Chen here is a 5th generation farmer. Her recommendation of Log Me In is a great one because this is one app that allows you to actually log into a computer that's already in your office and use the applications of the software on that computer, for example, like looking up animal records or QuickBooks. So her recommendation really is just have this one app and then have your desktop or laptop in your office set up so that it can receive the remote connection from your your mobile device or smartphone, and then you can use the software on that desktop to do things. This is really good for things that don't have mobile app capabilities. A lot of animal records software may not have a mobile app itself, so this is a way to get access to that. While you're in the barn or on the field, you could gain access to the records directly off the tool or service at your desktop. This is app recommendations from Will Gilmer. He's a dairy farmer in Alabama. His app for ArcGIS and the Clemson Sprayer app are interesting in that the ArcGIS one is really to do. He uses it for quick area estimation, but it's also a global, a geographic information system tool that allows you to look at satellite data and do mapping and do farm field layout, and that you could use for scouting and other things throughout the year. And then the Clemson Sprayer app, that's actually one of the extension apps I was mentioning earlier. Again, the cooperative extension building apps to help support agricultural decision making is out there for use. And this is Carolyn Olson. She and her husband grow organic row crops and have a conventional pig farm in southwestern Minnesota. And they have two recommendations. One of them is Precision Plant, items like Field View, and Evernote, which is more of a general productivity app, which I'll talk about later, and it's not just necessarily for agriculture. So here are some apps that are must-haves in my view of the world. This is not necessarily what you need, but it's just a recommendation that I've made to other people on what's nice to have on your phone in order to run through the day. So these are some getting stuff done tools. These are general purpose apps and allow one to read or create apps for use with Microsoft Office, share files, browse the web, and capture notes. So on the upper left there it says Google, and these are 4 apps from Google: Google Sheets, Docs, Calendar, and the Google Drive. You don't necessarily have to use the Google side. There actually are Microsoft versions of these at some level. So there's a Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word. And then, of course, you have your iPhone or Android calendar app that can help you keep track of things. What's interesting about all these is if you get sent an Excel spreadsheet via email, these are the apps that could help read those while on the go. The calendar app is a specific one, and I think is really interesting. Is I use Google Calendar, and Google Calendar allows me to set up on the Google Calendar software website calendars that I can share with other people. So there might be a work calendar or a project calendar with a partner. There's also a family calendar for us. And so I can see all those calendars on my iPhone, but this would work on iPhone or Android. Google Calendar is a pretty versatile application that can be used on multiple devices, and it synchronizes pretty seamlessly for all those. In the other general getting stuff done tools, Dropbox, that's a way to share files with people so you can store them. They'll be on what's called the cloud, but then you can have an app on your smartphone that allows you to see those files, but then you can also create a link and send that to somebody and share that file with somebody. Evernote, as I mentioned earlier, is more of a general purpose app, and it allows you to take notes, capture information, capture other data, and keep it again on the cloud. It's free, but there's also a for fee version of it. It's about $50 a year, and the functionality that it provides is I can use Evernote on any of the devices that I have: Windows, Mac operating system, iPhone, Android, even the Windows Phone. Evernote is on all those platforms, and you can gain access to all those notes you've typed on one device on another device. So it's a broad, wide, diverse, flexible utility. And then for browsing, I prefer the Chrome browser. So that's certainly available on Android because it's a Google software browser, but it's also available on iPhone and iPad, and is also available on your desktop computers. Some other apps that are always good to have. It's not always that you're trying to do work, but sometimes you need to be entertained, and so these are apps that some families use when things get a little tense with your kids. You can they need some entertainment. You can hand them your phone, and hopefully there's some apps on there that they can use. The Amazon. Prime Video. If you have the Prime service, you get access to their Prime Video services as part of that service fee. Games like Bubble Witch or Minecraft or Sudoku. It's just good to have some on there when you need to de-stress a little bit. Another set of apps that I think is important to have is your banking apps. We all need to check on our money, both professionally, personally, family, and whatever that might be. And many of these apps are pretty much the same app in some sense behind the scenes. I think there's only one or two companies that actually make these apps, and then they brand them for the bank. But in this case, these are things that allow you to do traditional information lookup, but in the last 2 or 3 years, they've added the functionality to be able to do, if you receive a paper check, you can still do digital deposits of that check without actually having to make a trip to a bank branch. So that's a convenient activity. And then various banks will add additional functionality based on your account or the things you're trying to do. Weather. In ag, this is actually a very important thing to have, but there are numerous weather apps, and they're all different, and they offer different features, and they all have various cost levels. So the best weather app is going to be the one that meets your need for your region or what you like to see or do. I know a lot of people in agriculture who use Dark Sky. It's a weather app that offers some really detailed weather information in a very localized area. So in where you stand, you say, hey, I want to know what the weather's going to be, and then you want to know what the weather's going to be two plots over. Dark Sky can help you with that. Some people just want general weather, and the Yahoo weather app is a good one to do. And then there's like specific weather apps that are provided by companies like Monsanto. In this case, the Climate Corporation, which is a subsidiary of Monsanto. They have their app, but it also probably ties back into some of their other services and features that you would be paying for outside of an app, and specifically. Again, weather apps, there are a lot of them. You try a few and see which one works for you. Of course, every social media platform and channel has an app to help you stay connected. So pick the ones you like and load those. Now, these two apps are really interesting. These are the two apps I use to really read the news. Feedly is an app that is really a replacement for Google Reader that went away about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So as an app, it took on the ability to use what are called RSS feeds, or real simplified syndication feeds. It's a very geeky type of way to get news without actually having to go to that web page. But Feedly makes it simple to use. You don't have to know about the RSS stuff, because you can actually set up Feedly and then say, hey, I want to get the news from, and pick your magazine, website, or newsletter, and see if it's already listed in Feedly. Or you can actually say, here's if you know the term, the RSS feed, and put it into Feedly, and it'll help you. Once it's installed, you can actually browse through news headlines much quicker than instead of going to like 5 or 10 different sites. I can look at all those sites at once, or in a several pages, just on Feedly. And if I wanted to go deeper, Feedly will allow me to go to the actual page where the article is posted. Flipboard is more of it's also a news reading kind of tool, but it's more of a casual, more entertainment style reading. I would consider that kind of like a Saturday morning or Sunday afternoon kind of activity, using Flipboard just to scan what's going on in the general news or media, and mainly for entertainment, as opposed to deep thinking news. Again, there are a lot of apps out there for news. Pretty much every news outlet and channel, local and national and regional, has some form of app. And so look on there and see what's out, what works for you. I'd be cautious of the local channel apps. They tend to be noisy. The local TV stations here in Indianapolis have apps, and they tend to pollute them with a lot of advertising. It makes it hard to use sometimes. So I tend to only look at some things at a national level, like the Wall Street Journal app. The rest of my news, again, I actually use Feedly. It's a preferred way for me, but you have to kind of find what you like in terms of what's the news you need and where and what works for you in terms of your ability to stand ads or not stand ads. For agriculture, there are some apps that are out there. Pretty much the major ag outlets have an app. So 5M Publishing, they're the producers of the pig site, the dairy site, the beef site, the poultry site, the fish site. They have several of those in English and in Spanish. They have some apps and they help you read their news. There's of course the Ag Index by the Monsanto Corporation, and it's a news app. It helps pull together news, but of course it's sponsored by or supported by Monsanto, so it's got their view of the world. Then you have the like Ag Web by Farm Journal. That's an app that allows you to see the ag information that they're publishing. The CME Group, or the Chicago Mercantile Exchange app, actually allows you to see the news for commodities and markets at a specific level. So try these out. Again, other ag outlets will have apps that are similar in nature, probably similar in nature to the Ag Web app, where it'll be their media platform and it'll be pretty much their news. If you're looking for general news, I would actually go the Feedly route, because then you could take the Ag Web RSS feed, and you could take the 5M feeds from various sites, and even the CME, the commodity exchange feed, and put it into Feedly and use one app to scan a whole bunch of different sites. But again, it's a preference. This is one app I think is really more from a personal point of view. If you sell anything and you're not near, you want to take credit cards, but you're not near a traditional credit card reader, the Square app actually is a good app to use to collect funds via credit cards. So a personal example, if you have a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout who's trying to sell cookies or popcorn, the Square app allows you to take credit cards while you're outside that Lowe's or the co-op and capture the dollars there. And then as a business, if you run an operation where you need to take credit, then this is a good app to do. It's very secure. They follow all the proper credit card compliance activities, and the app is really simple to use on a pretty much easy daily basis. General apps. Where can one learn about apps in general? I actually recommend these two shows. One of them is called All About Android, and the other one is called iPad Today. They're both from the This Week in Tech TV network. That's a series of shows that are produced on a variety of daily or weekly schedules. The iPad Today is a weekly show, and All About Android is a weekly show, and they're covering both of those platforms, Android and iOS, and sharing what apps are going on. And I like them both because it's not all about technology. Sometimes they're saying, hey, what's a good education app? What are some good business apps? What's a good app to to keep track of sports? What's a good app to help me learn about a new topic or an idea? They're actually going to review the app. They'll load it, they'll test it out, and they'll talk about some of the pros and cons of it. So it's always a good thing to see what's going on. Also, these two shows keep up on the latest trends in terms of where the Apple equipment and the Android equipment are going in terms of functionality and updates. Again, this presentation and additional links to agricultural apps can be found at agtoday.us/ag-apps. And also, again, thanks to the Indiana Farm Bureau Young Farmer Leadership Conference for the opportunity to provide this information today to you. And if you want to contact Truffle Media Networks, trufflemedia.com is the website. On Twitter, it's @trufflemedia. And for Facebook, it's trufflemedia.com/Facebook. Thanks again. Bye-bye.